They say love makes you blind. I guess I wore my blindness like a badge of honor. At 35, I thought I had built a life most men would envy. A modest house in the suburbs, a decent career as a systems analyst, and a woman who made other men look twice. Nadia, my wife of 8 years, was striking in every way. Confident, elegant, with this magnetic charm that drew people in. She worked in PR, lived on social media, and had a calendar full of client meetings and wellness days I never questioned. I worked long hours. I always had. Early mornings, late nights, glued to multiple monitors while sipping reheated coffee and poring over code. But I did it for us. For the house, the vacations, the future we spoke about in quiet moments over wine. Or maybe just the future I assumed we both wanted. My younger brother, Anton, was a different breed. For years younger, chronically unemployed, effortlessly charismatic. The kind of guy who could make you laugh even as he pocketed your wallet. I always covered for him, bailing him out, lending him money, forgiving him even when he didn't ask for it. He was family, after all. He'd been around our house more often in recent months. Too often. Always with an excuse, dropping off something, needing to borrow cash, looking for life advice. Nadia never complained. If anything, she welcomed him, made him coffee, and laughed at his dumb jokes far more than mine. I should have seen it then. The distance in her eyes. The slight flinch when I kissed her cheek. The way she no longer bothered to pretend she was interested in my workday. But I was too busy surviving, too convinced that loyalty was a currency that always paid off. Then came the cufflink. It was a Friday evening. I had picked up Nadia's purse from the floor to hand it to her. Something metal clinked inside. Thinking it might be a key or lipstick, I opened the side pocket. What I pulled out made my stomach drop. A silver cufflink, custom engraved with the initials AV. A birthday gift I'd given Anton last year. I held it in my palm for a full minute, the weight of it heavier than it had any right to be. Nadia noticed. She didn't panic. She didn't stammer or flush, just tilted her head and said, "Oh, is that yours?" I must have picked it up by mistake. But it wasn't mine. And she knew it. She knew I knew it. And we both chose not to say anything more. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling for hours, replaying every detail I'd overlooked, every half-truth, every misplaced laugh between them. The warmth of the bed beside me felt like poison. Something was wrong. And for the first time in years, I didn't brush it aside. Paranoia, once it takes root, grows fast. By Monday, I had made up my mind. I told Nadia I had a last-minute business trip, client audit in Lviv. She didn't question it, just nodded while scrolling through her phone, barely looking up. That indifference cut deeper than anger ever could. But I wasn't going anywhere. I checked into a cheap motel on the outskirts of town. Nothing fancy, just a place with blackout curtains, reliable Wi-Fi, and a view of the street. I told my boss I'd be working remotely. He didn't care. I always met deadlines. That was my strength. Unseen, reliable, forgotten. The plan came to me faster than I expected. I'd spent my career debugging networks, cracking security flaws, analyzing data trails. People like Anton and Nadia thought they were smart. But they didn't understand surveillance. They didn't understand me. Step 1, audio. I bought a mini voice recorder from a local electronics store. Japanese-made, no bigger than a thumb drive. I programmed it to activate on sound above 40 decibels. I planted it beneath the living room coffee table late one night, pretending I had forgotten my passport at home. Step 2, GPS. Anton's car was a 2009 Skoda Fabia with cracked leather seats and no sense of hygiene. He never locked it. I slipped a GPS tracker under the driver's seat. One of those models you control via an app. I used Tracky, linked it to a burner email. The updates came every 2 minutes. Step 3, security feeds. Our home had 2 external cameras, one at the front porch and one in the backyard, installed more for insurance purposes than protection. They streamed to a private server I'd set up myself. I rerouted the feed to my laptop. Silent observers. Unblinking. Then I waited. It started the very next day. At 10:32 a.m., the Tracky pinged Anton's car pulling into my driveway. No call. No reason. Just parked. 30 minutes later, he was still there. At 11:12, the front camera caught him letting himself in with a key, my spare key. The one that had gone missing last month. I had thought I misplaced it. I clicked over to the audio stream. It was faint at first, shuffling, footsteps, a burst of laughter. Then I heard Nadia's voice. Playful, teasing, familiar in a way that made my blood curdle. He called her babe. She called him Lionheart. A joke I never understood. They joked about me, about how I worked myself to the bone, about how I'd never see it coming. She asked him how much was in the savings account. He didn't know. She said, "Don't worry. He'll give it to me if I just cry a little." Then laughter. Their laughter. I listened until I couldn't anymore. I vomited into a trash bin in the motel room, then wiped my mouth and kept going. This was no affair. This was a heist. The next few days were a blur of betrayal, played on loop. Anton's car parked at our house almost daily. Each time, my stomach twisted tighter. Nadia kept lying about yoga class or client lunches. On Thursday, she said she had a massage appointment at noon. I watched, in real time, as she opened the door for him in her bathrobe at 12:07 p.m. The audio that day caught them in our bedroom. Our bed. She laughed about the sheets still smelling like me. He told her to burn it all down. They spoke of starting over. With my money. I sat in that motel room, surrounded by cables and files, watching my life collapse pixel by pixel, waveform by waveform. No outburst. No scream. Just a hollow calm. Like the moment before a storm hits, and everything goes still. I wasn't heartbroken. Not really. I was humiliated. Used. Played like a fool by the two people who should have guarded me most. But worse than that, I had let it happen. I spent one more night collecting footage. Sorting it. Backing it up. Cataloging every filthy second. I knew I couldn't unsee it, but I wanted to make sure they could never deny it. The next morning, I packed my bags and went home. I returned on a Tuesday. The kind of cloudy, gray-skied day that felt scripted. I pulled into the driveway at 10:06 a.m., earlier than usual, deliberately. The street was quiet. The kind of quiet that waits to be broken. Anton Skoda was already there. I didn't knock. I didn't call. I used my own damn key. The house smelled like coffee and betrayal. I heard music from the kitchen, something upbeat, jazz maybe. Laughter floated through the hallway, sharp and sudden. Hers. I walked silently, my heart not racing but locked in this cold, mechanical rhythm. Like it already knew the script. They didn't see me until I stepped into the kitchen. Nadia was perched on the counter, barefoot, wearing one of my old college shirts, her favorite for lounging. Anton stood between her legs, eating a slice of pear from her hand like a circus dog. For a second, no one moved. No one breathed. Then she dropped the fruit. He blinked, slow and smug, like he couldn't decide whether to run or smirk. I didn't shout. I didn't swing. I just stood there and said flatly, "He'll give it to me if I just cry a little." That's what you said. On Thursday, 12:44 p.m. Living room mic. She froze. Her lips parted like she was about to say my name, but nothing came. "And you?" I turned to Anton. "Let it all burn down, right?" Sounded poetic, honestly. Maybe you should have gone into theater instead of freeloading off everyone. He chuckled. Not nervous. Bold. "You really bugged the house?" he said, shaking his head. "That's some serial killer-s. GPS in your car, too." I interrupted. "You came over 17 times in the last 3 weeks. You lied every time. You both did." The silence pressed down, thick and ugly. Nadia finally spoke. Voice trembling, eyes already glossy with tears. I didn't mean for this to happen. It started as a joke. You were always gone, and I was lonely, and he was just convenient. I offered. Disposable. She stepped down from the counter slowly. Her voice cracked into the practiced tone she used whenever she wanted something. "Please. You don't understand how hard it's been. You weren't here. You were never really here." I wanted to laugh, but I didn't. "No," I said. "I was at work, earning every cent you planned to steal." Then Anton, still shirtless, still entirely too calm, decided to speak. "You know, you always made it too easy. Always the good guy. The responsible one. Everyone knew you'd never see it coming. I mean, man, leaving her alone for weeks? What did you think was going to happen?" I stared at him, amazed by how little guilt he wore. Like this wasn't betrayal, it was inevitability. Then came the twist. Anton looked at her, then at me, smirking. "But if you really want to know who started it," she did. I thought it was a game at first. She flirted, teased, said you had a stash saved up, said she just needed my help unlocking it. He chuckled bitterly. I didn't even like her like that, man. She was using both of us. I was just the idiot who didn't stop. Nadia spun on him. That's a lie. You're lying. Don't twist this. You came onto me. You needed a place to stay. They turned on each other like wolves smelling blood. Accusations. Deflections. Noise. But I didn't need any of it. I pulled my phone from my pocket. Tapped on a file labeled living room_07-13.mp3. I let it play. Her laughter. Crystal clear. Her voice. Unmistakable. He's such a loser. I could fake cry and get 10 grand tomorrow. The room went quiet. She backed up a step, mouth twitching, eyes wide like a child caught red-handed. I was joking. I pocketed the phone. Looked them both over, barefoot, panicked, pathetic. I'll give you 10 seconds to get out of my house. They stood still. 8. Anton grabbed his shirt from the chair. Nadia whispered something to him. He ignored her. 5. She reached for me. I stepped back. 3. They bolted. Together. I didn't watch them go. I just shut the door behind them. And locked it. They never came back. Not that day. Not the next. Nadia sent a few texts. Long, winding apologies that read more like PR spin than remorse. She called once. I let it ring until it died. No voicemails. No knock at the door. Just silence. I was fine with that. The same day I kicked them out, I emptied our joint savings account. All of it, every last cent, moved to a new, private account under a different bank. A friend from college, now working in finance, helped me funnel it through 3 shells and wrap it tight with legal insulation. I left just enough in the joint account to give the illusion of life, of normalcy. Then I changed every password, email, Wi-Fi, alarm system, even my streaming subscriptions. I had the locks rekeyed that afternoon. The locksmith didn't ask questions, and I didn't offer any. I printed divorce papers a week later. No alimony. No contest. Just signatures and clean breaks. I attached a USB drive to the envelope. Every recording, timestamped, labeled undeniable. Evidence for her shame, not mine. I never got a reply. Just a silent acknowledgement through her lawyer. She wouldn't fight it. As for Anton, he disappeared. Maybe back to some hostel, maybe some woman's couch. I didn't care. My brother died the moment he laughed at me with my wife in our bed. It's strange how empty a house feels when trust has left it. I boxed up photos. Tossed the wedding album in the trash like yesterday's mail. There was no dramatic fire, no gasoline-soaked ceremony. Just the cold, deliberate erasure of everything we built. I found myself sleeping on the couch, even though the bed was technically mine. Somehow, the couch felt cleaner. Untouched. Some nights, I sat in the living room, sipping whiskey, watching shadows crawl along the walls. Not crying. Not raging. Just breathing. Relearning what it meant to be alone. And yet, in that stillness, something unfamiliar stirred, something I hadn't felt in years. Control. Not the illusion of it, the kind you feel when you're being lied to and don't know it. Real control. The kind that comes from knowing the truth, ugly as it is, and choosing what to do with it. People talk about betrayal like it's a wound, but that's not quite right. It's a surgery. Brutal, precise, removing the cancer of false intimacy from your bones. You bleed. You scream. But when it's done, you heal cleaner. I didn't chase closure. I didn't go looking for revenge beyond the financial. My revenge was quieter. I walked away with every cent, every shred of dignity, and not a single scar I didn't earn. Weeks passed. Then one evening, I found myself alone in the study. Our wedding photos spread across the floor. Not out of nostalgia, just curiosity. I looked at my face in them. Younger, dumber, so convinced that love was bulletproof. I lit a candle. One by one, I fed the photos to the flame. No rage, no tears, just fire. In that flickering glow, I whispered the last truth I needed to admit. I lost a wife and a brother, but I found my